بالسعادة. السيدات والسادة حضور المؤتمر ومن يتابعوننا من خلف الشاشات. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. نرحب بكم مجددا في الجلسة الأولى لهذا اليوم بعنوان تقويم نواتج التعلم في التعليم العالي. يدير الجلسة معالي الدكتورة إيناس العيسى رئيس جامعة الأميرة نورة بنت عبد الرحمن. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you again to the first thematic session today, entitled Assessment of Learning Outcomes in Tertiary Education, moderated by Her Excellency Dr. Einas Aleisa. فلتتفضل معاليكم مشكورة. Please welcome Her Excellency.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is my pleasure to moderate the fourth session in this conference, and I would like to welcome the viewers joining us from all over the world. The relevance of and the role that is played by higher education in economic development cannot be undermined. And throughout the years, the assessment of learning outcomes have become an emerging topic of discussion all over the world. So it is my pleasure today to be joined by world-renowned experts that are going to talk about the differentiation and the evolution of assessment of learning outcomes around the world. We have two speakers from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. We have His Excellency Dr. Mohammed Al-Sudairi, and on his behalf, the Deputy Minister, Dr. Abdulrahman AlKhorayef, will be speaking about the transformation of higher education assessment in Saudi Arabia. We have from Paris, Dr. Dirk van Dam, head of the OECD Innovation and Measuring Progress Division. We have from Italy, Dr. Alberto Cioffi, the head of self-assessment and periodic evaluation accreditation from the Italian National Agency for the Evaluation of Universities and Research Institutes. And we have from Portugal, Dr. Pedro Teixeira, the director of the Center for Research in Higher Education Policies and professor at the Faculty of Economics at the University of Porto. And last but not least, we have Dr. Suhail Bajamal, the executive manager of the National Center of Assessment and Academic Accreditation. It's my pleasure to introduce our first speaker on behalf of His Excellency, the Vice Minister. We have Dr. Abdulrahman AlKhorayef, the Deputy Minister of Education for Public Universities. He holds a PhD in Economics and Management and a master's degree in Business Administration, both from Leeds University. Dr. AlKhorayef currently monitors both academic and administrative policies in 28 public universities. In the past, Dr. AlKhorayef assumed a number of roles as part of his work experience. Most recently, he served as an advisor at the Royal Court. He also worked as an executive director of the Center for Labor Market Studies. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome Dr. Abdulrahman to start his presentation. تفضل دكتور.
شكرا ما عليكم، والشكر لله أولا وآخر على أن جمعنا في هذا المؤتمر المهم والحيوي بالذات في ظل هذه الجائحة اللي أسأل الله العظيم أن يرفعها.
I'd like to thank you very much, and I hope that this dilemma or crisis will be cleared soon, and we will go back to normal very soon. I'd like to express my thankfulness to His Majesty the King and the Crown Prince for their support for the system of education and training in Saudi Arabia. And I'd like to thank my colleagues in the field of ETIC for organizing this important conference in Saudi Arabia in this important time while we're waiting for the G20 summit in Saudi Arabia. My paper today is related to the initiative that we are working on in the Ministry of Education for the improvement of the learning outcomes in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia's higher education system. I will start by speaking about our vision, the vision of our leaders, the vision of His Royal Highness, and the different efforts that we work on in the ministry and in cooperation with the training and education agencies, in cooperation with ETIC and other agencies related to education and training in the kingdom. I will start speaking about the process of education and training. Is there a problem with the slides? I'd like to assure some points in the beginning that evaluation is one of the most important processes of developing any education system When we are able to measure the educational process and its outcomes, we'll be able to be informed with the current situation and compare it to our goals and our targets and our aspirations in order to develop our higher education system or the educational system in general. The Ministry of Education is committed to improving the outcomes of education programs because it is one of our most important uh, responsibilities to provide education for our young boys and girls, whether in public education or university education. Improving outcomes requires creating the foundation of and methodology of assessing, evaluating, and monitoring progress. This is important in order to speak about the initiatives that we're working on in the ministry in order to evaluate and assess the results and to increase the outcomes of education, whether in universities or in the public educational system. The ministries of education also launched several key initiatives, studied different international programs, and cooperated with the related parties in evaluation and measurement. These are some of the initiatives, starting with but I'm going to speak about the most recent ones that we worked on in cooperation with national and international related parties in the field of education. The first phase was in cooperation with the National Center for Measurement and Evaluation in some kinds of engineering programs to evaluate their results. After that, we studied 21 disciplines. Now we reached 37 disciplines. In the ministry, we work on a project. We are working on a project in cooperation with the universities to put a support for the uh, finality of the academic year. And these are some of the most important initiatives we work on in the ministry. Also, we have supportive initiatives to uplift the level of the outcomes of our learning educational system, like muwa'amah or conformity initiative, according to the needs of the labor market in order to match the education outcomes to the labor market needs in terms of competencies, skills, and in order to know the knowledge and the skills and the competencies in order to build our programs in order to meet the needs of the labor market. Another initiative is related to uh, the field training, or if we can say the training that ends with the that uh, comes at the end of the academic study in order to transform the theoretical skills and knowledge that students had in universities to be practical in order to help them to help us increase the outcomes of the learning. Also, cooperative training, also the support of the institutional research through our support institutional and development research in order to provide and develop competencies, skills, and the awareness of researchers of our universities and to get them updated with the most recent arts and knowledge that they work on. The last and the most comprehensive one, which is related to the entrepreneurial university initiative that focuses on the strength points, the advantages of the university in its geographical area or the capabilities that the university have in terms of its disciplines. In the kingdom, we have a number of universities that identified their own research identities or scientific identities, like Imam Abdulrahman bin Faisal University, for example. They are interested in our medicine security in Saudi Arabia. King Faisal University is interested in our food security. Jeddah University is interested in supply chains and some other logistics. Al-Qura University is interested in the field of crowd management, Hajj, and Umrah. And these are some of the advantages of each of our universities. I'm not going to speak on behalf of Princess Nourah University because Her Excellency is here and she is the president of the university. They are interested in qualifying our female colleagues and sisters, the ladies of our society, in terms of our developmental needs. The initiative that we are talking about in the evaluating the outcomes, go through some stages in order to measure the outcomes of our programs. We start by preparing reviews or the benchmarks that are of interest in any given field. After that, we set the standards to evaluate higher education outcomes and create an initial framework to evaluate learning outcomes, evaluation methods. After that, we prepare and draft questions, administer trial tests, then evaluation and follow-up. If we speak about the conformity in Muwa'amah initiative, these are some details. We started by benchmarking in cooperation with the best international practices. We also provided some framework for this, studying supply and demand, identifying the disciplines and the skills required for any scientific program, and also building the ideal models that will be provided to universities in order to be guidelines for them. After that, providing the quantitative supply and demand analysis in order to provide the university specifications roadmap in order to achieve the vision of His Royal Highness the Crown Prince. Another initiative is related to cooperative training, which is called Mumakkina, in order for the ministry to work with universities so that all the programs include a part of our practical implementation system in order to uplift quality and to enlist it in the curricula of the universities, in order for the curricula not only to cover theoretical, but also to cover theoretical, practical, and everything as well. Also, partnership with the private or public sectors in order to through building a clear plan for the students and the participation of universities in the outcomes of the experience of the students. As for the institutional research support, it allows faculty members suitable opportunities to conduct in-depth research and helps them enrich study materials that are being presented to the students and helps them develop their teaching careers, which reflects positively on classrooms programs and links them to the national and international updates. Also, the entrepreneurial university, it encourages the university to focus on a particular sector or field, helps consolidate efforts, which contributes to the development of higher education and improving outcomes, and makes the university able to support and focus on the experts in the university, which contributes finally to developing curricula and improving the learning system. In conclusion, I'd like to mention again that it is very important that to evaluate and assess the effectiveness of our educational programs and gauging their compatibility with the labor market requirements, not only in order to have to know the skills that we need, but also to solve the challenges that we face in the kingdom and around the world. Also, also bringing the educational process full circle to leverage the results of programs. The role of ethic in measuring the outcomes is important. Also, our partners from the specialized educational systems like health sectors and others, this will be reflected in our educational process. Also, the process of evaluation and development is a constant process linked to educational process itself. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you, Your Excellency, for allowing me to speak.
Abdulrahman, I'd like to remind the viewers to send their questions throughout the chat, and we will make sure that we address them all. Before I move on with the presentations, if you allow me, Dr. AlKhorayef, you've produced a document showing the efforts, the lucrative efforts at the ministry, supporting the universities in the assessment of learning outcomes. What message do you have for the academics who are watching us today of how to utilize such data, such information? You've touched upon the exit point exams, you've touched upon the co-op training and how it relates to assessment. What would be your key message to university officials that are watching us today to utilize such data in their constant development of their academic activity?
يهمنا يمكن الرسالة الرئيسية.
It is very important to us, and the main message that we want to share with our colleagues, the officials of the universities or the faculty members of universities and those interested in the education process directly or indirectly, or the researchers in the universities. It's clear to tell them that the process of development and improving the learning outcomes is a complementary process. Our role in the university is to share the success stories and to provide regulations, but the role of universities is to share with us their learning outcomes. The outcomes that they get should be shared with us. Thank you.